Your number one seed Denver Broncos have some of the biggest bounce backs in NFL history, and it's making me wonder, is the NFL scripted? Because even George Lucas himself could not write a script this good, because your Denver Broncos have multiple Anakin Skywalkers on this team. Players and coaches who were almost ran out of town, and sometimes actually were ran out of town, who at the end of the movie have ended up saving Luke Skywalker, who is their son. Spoiler alert, we're breaking down who those guys are and why we should use that lesson to not run out of town. Guys like Troy Franklin or Tyler Bidet, or guys who are struggling with drops. We're breaking all that down and more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben. Helps me in the algorithm out a ton. If you like the Broncos, would you smash that like and subscribe button? So the first Anakin Skywalker that we absolutely have to break down here is Vance Joseph, the biggest redemption arc I can remember. A guy who literally was run out of town. He was fired as the Broncos head coach. He came back in and suffered the slings and arrows of guys like Rex Ryan coming on after the Broncos' low point of losing 70-20 to the Miami Dolphins. That was absolutely rock bottom for this team. And he stuck through all of that and now is leading like one of the best defenses in NFL history, a team set to break the all-time NFL sack record. And you just look at his ability to morph and adapt, and just like, he kept Patrick Mahomes guessing that entire game. That you look at the difference in the script that we had in the first half of that game against Mahomes, where we only blitzed him 4 times, to the second half where we were just absolutely sending the house on 45% of our blitzes. He is an elite defensive play caller, and I think he's absolutely going to have offers for a head coaching job. You just look at him being 11-21 as a head coach, people saying he's no good, he's washed up. Even that 70-20 drubbing that we had, I'll never forget. Sean Payton having his back and saying, I'm riding with this dude, I'm not going to fire him. All of the Pat McAfee rumors about bringing in Rex Ryan are just absolutely malarkey, and now we have one of the best defenses in NFL history, that we are on pace to shatter that sack record, and nobody wants to play the Denver Broncos because of Vance Joseph. I think another Anakin Skywalker that we have that even happened just in one season is that we looked early on in this season and people were ready to run Rizzy out of town, saying that the Broncos were going to fire him, and Sean Payton said, Rizzy's doing a great job, we're not firing Darren Rizzy. And you could make the argument that we lost that Colts game because of the blocked field goal, or the missed field goal that ended up being a bogus leverage call. And you look at these past couple games before this Chiefs game, and our starting field position was abysmal because of just a lot of special teams error. And then you look at how different it was in this game against the Chiefs, where we put this whole thing together, and the starting field position, we won the starting field position against a fantastic special teams coordinator that they have rocking in Kansas City. So again, you don't give up on players, you don't give up on coaches, because when you just continue to give up on people year after year, that's when you become the New York Jets, and you never have that cohesion. And the fact that Sean has stuck with his dudes is just incredible, and I don't think anyone exemplifies that better than Garrett Bolles, who truly was a villain here. And we remember every single play. We can just hear holding number 72 ringing in our ears. Now there's a very good chance that Garrett Bolles ends up being the offensive protector of the year because of how well he's playing. You look here, he had 17 holding penalties in 2019, but the Broncos did not give up on him, and now he's one of the highest graded PFF left tackles in all of football, allowing 0 sacks for a lot of the season. And he's not going up against chumps. He's played Max Crosby. We didn't even hear Max Crosby's name in that game against the Broncos. He went against Will Anderson and the Texans. He's gone against incredible edge rushers. And even that game 2 years ago where we played the Cleveland Browns, and he actually negated Myles Garrett. So you just look at the redemption arc for him, and more importantly, really that entire offensive line, that the offensive line, where Russell Wilson was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in football, is the exact same offensive line where Bo Nix is one of the least sacked quarterbacks in all of football. You look here, the low point where we had 63 sacks allowed, which is kind of crazy that's how many sacks the Broncos currently have. And it just felt like way too much. So how do other teams feel playing us? And now you're looking here that last year, Bo Nix sacked 24 times, and he was on pace. The Chief game was a little bit of an outlier where he was sacked 2 times on one drive, which almost never happens. And that was just a constant when we had Russell Wilson back there. So the glow up that we are seeing from Rizzy, from obviously special teams, our special teams coordinator, obviously the glow up we're seeing with Garrett Bolles, the entire offensive line is huge. And then I think the glow up that we're seeing with Bo Nix here, and that he was captain check down, right? That he couldn't make deep throws, and every week we're just looking at that spread chart that showed his passing yards, and then looking at how different that is to this year. Where just in this last game against the Chiefs, who are a vaunted defense, the Bo Nix had 4 passes over 20 yards in the air. And again, you don't bail on Bo Nix. When Colin Cowherd said the Broncos might be trading or moving on and drafting another quarterback who isn't Bo Nix, absolutely malarkey. Sean Payton has shown the only way to dig yourself out of the Russell Wilson dead cap hit is you got to roll with the dudes that you have, and I love that all of them have redeemed themselves in just crazy ways, and the plays that he had that were over 20 air yards were just sights to behold for sure, and we're looking, why don't you give up on him? Even, yes, we didn't look fantastic in that game against the one of the best defenses in football in the Texans, and we didn't look that great on a short week, but Bo Nix currently has 8 fourth quarter comebacks. That is not a fluke. That is not something that just randomly happens. Like I think we found a little fool's gold with Drew Lock once where he kind of looked hot for a couple game streaks, but you don't end up being the player who has 8 fourth quarter comebacks, and we haven't even played 2 full seasons, the most by a player in his second year since back to 1950. And if he just has one more of these, which looking ahead at our schedule, let's hope we're not even down in another fourth quarter. But Bo Nix is going to shatter this record, and beyond that, it doesn't go back any further than that. And that's why you do not bail on Bo Chapman Nix, and that's why you don't bail on your players. I think another player who's had a huge redemption arc is Evan Engram, who all during the offseason we just heard, you know what, who's the new slot receiver for the Denver Broncos? It's going to be Evan Engram. And then he underperformed and didn't look like how we wanted him to look. And I think that back injury, we've seen firsthand with J.K. Dobbins being injured almost an entire week before we finally heard what was going on with him. With Alex Singleton last year tearing his ACL, and we didn't hear about it until a full week after that happened. I think the Evan Engram back injury that kept him out of games early on in this season was bigger than most of us knew and bigger than Sean Payton wanted to let out, because we saw Evan Engram in this game look like the Evan Engram that we wanted him to look like, and the advanced analytics prove that. He actually had 6.56 yards of separation, which is crazy for a tight end. This isn't like a shifty Marvin Mims type dude. We know Marvin Mims has that type of separation yards, but a massive guy like an Evan Engram should not be getting almost 7 yards of separation. I could hit a dude with 7 yards of separation, and it's doubling the league average, which is why he had 5 targets and just caught 4 of those. And so I love the fact that the Broncos are here, that we are the 1 seed in the entire AFC, and we've done it the right way. We haven't gone out and just spent all of our free agent money and it's just turnover. We have homegrown guys who are young and hungry, and that there's no more rewarding way to win in the NFL. And so as we look here, that right now the Denver Broncos are leading the league right now in drops, and it is natural for all of us to get up in arms and be like, oh man, Bo Nix would be so much better if we went out and got a Waddle, or we went out and got Brian Thomas Jr. Well, the Broncos didn't do that. They held pat at the trade deadline because Sean Payton has a list of receipts as big as the second Harry Potter book that have proven that when he doesn't give up on guys, good things happen. Garrett Bolles goes from obscurity and a stain on this organization to being protector of the year. Vance Joseph goes from getting fired and being a laughingstock in the NFL to now he's going to be a head coach somewhere else next year probably. Rizzy goes from run him out of town to we had an incredible special teams day on Sunday against the Chiefs where you had 5 field goals made. We won the starting field position in that game. So I love the fact that we have not given up on players, and I would just encourage all of us as we watch Riley Moss struggle with penalties, as we watch Troy Franklin have drops. We don't give up on players, and that is how you build a championship caliber team, is drafting well, developing those players, and sticking with them through the rough times, and that's why we're the number 1 seed in the AFC. So let's not run Riley out of town. Let's not run Troy Franklin out of town. Troy Franklin's the youngest player on this team, and we saw his big play ability as he iced that game for us and redeemed himself even in that one game. So it could not be more bullish, and I hope that on their bye week right now, players are knowing that this is very special what we're doing in Denver, and it is not common, and they're taking us deep in the NFL playoffs, and that's something, y'all, we can BO-Lieve in. I am your